Hi everyone. I wanted to come on quite early, actually. I'm recording this video probably about a week earlier than I normally would, to talk about the second half of July and the full moon coming up in Capricorn on the 21st of July. And the reason for that is that there's a real shift in energy from the first half of the year, as I've mentioned, into this second half of the year with some very powerful astrology in mid-July. So I wanted to cover that and also cover this very important full moon in Capricorn. In fact, the second full moon in a row in Capricorn. So I've got a lot to say. I'm going to try and go through it slowly with you. Welcome to any new viewers and subscribers. Um, a lot of you know, but for those new people, I no longer do client work. If you go onto my website, pamgregory.com, and onto the contact page, you'll find a recommendation there if you want a reading, but it won't be from me, nor am I able to answer any personal emails because the volume is just enormous now. And, much as I would really love to answer you, it just isn't possible. And I think you listen to these videos to get astrological information, not for how many emails I've replied to that day. So I hope you understand that too. Okay, let me begin. I've referred to this in the last couple of updates for June, but I'm going to cover it again because I do think it's a very important period in mid-July. In fact, what I'm really talking about spans the 6th to the 24th of July, but it's most exact from the kind of 14th, 15th, 16th, right in the middle of the month. And as some of you know, this is the conjunction between Mars, Uranus, and a fixed star called Algol. Now, Uranus has an 84-year cycle. It was last conjunct Algol in 1941, so a long time ago. Fixed stars only move a degree every 72 years, so it's pretty much in the same place for a lifetime. Uranus will remain conjunct Algol up until the end of October this year, and then again April, May next year, and then move on. However, the reason mid-July is so important is that Mars is joining that conjunction. Mars is the energizer, the initiator, the igniter of whatever that Uranus-Algol conjunction represents, and that will only happen in mid-July. Well, effectively, it's operational from the 6th to the 24th, and actually Mars will also be at an important degree point, 21 degrees of Taurus, where we have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on the 20th of April. It will be re-energizing all that meant. And that's going to be on the 8th. So this whole mid-July period is very important. Now, I mentioned it previous couple of videos, but I'm going to expand on it again. This is linked to seismic activity, literal earthquakes, political earthquakes, financial earthquakes, particularly because it's in Taurus, linked to banking and currencies. It's an eruptive, explosive, combustible energy. It's like fireworks. It's like lighting the touch paper on something. Is very initiating. It could be internet cuts, power cuts, cyber attacks, that kind of thing. It could be more galactic news or galactic connections. Uranus is the sky god in myth, so it could be linked to aviation. Often there's, because it's a very sudden, unexpected energy. Uranus is always ruling the unexpected. It could be some aviation accident or issue. It could be linked to meteorites. It could be things coming from the out there, because Uranus in myth is the sky god. It's very electrical. It's electromagnetic. We could see more solar flares at this time, more destabilization in the ionosphere. It's all of that kind of firework energy. It's rebellious, it's revolutionary, it's the uppity energy. And if this is happening at 26 degrees of Taurus, If you have any planets or angles between 24 and 28 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, particularly Taurus, you are likely to feel this as a restless, agitated, urgent energy, a need for freedom. I've got to kind of break the routine. I've got to break the rules. I've got to do something maverick. I've got to do something that's really me, that's really authentic. Uranus transits always bring about changes that at a deeper level we have already outgrown. Issues, habits, stale routines that we have already outgrown. So it's a very, we will notice this. It's not a quiet energy. I never, as an astrologer, know the exact events. I never do. All I'm able to describe is the timing and the quality of the energy. And this is very distinct. And whatever is happening at this time is likely to kind of rumble on in our consciousness for some months. Algol, the fixed star, is connected to people in myth losing their heads. That can be people kind of going crazy about something, becoming very unstable. Uranus is very unstable energy, and it could be linked to leaders losing their power. And I think that is particularly likely at this time. And just to remind you again that this is conjunct the midheaven of Donald Trump's chart. The midheaven in an individual's chart is linked to their status or their reputation. This conjunction brings out some kind of radical shift or change or surprise to that. I understand there's a legal case, a court case going on right now, and the verdict will come out on the 11th of July, I understand. I don't stay close to any news, but clearly this is part of this conjunction, very likely. This conjunction is also opposing President Biden's sun, SUN, in the 12th house. That's to do with illness, critical illness. And it's also interestingly conjunct the midheaven of the chart of France. France is going through some snap elections right now. I think they run until the 7th of July. And Macron has been not doing, President Macron has not been doing well in the polls. So again, we may see some radical change in government in France. This Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction is also opposing the moon in the 10th house of government and leadership for the EU. And it's interesting also that it is directly opposing Pluto in the EU's chart. And that Pluto rules the 4th house, the base of the chart, the land. So we could be seeing, and that's actually emphasized by transiting Pluto squaring the IC/MC in that chart. Now, just to explain that, all of that in English, the IC is the base, the land. Could be some radical change in the land. The midheaven in a country's chart is the government and the leadership. So transiting Pluto indicates a fundamental change in the EU government and leadership over the coming months, and next couple of years. I personally think the EU will break up because we're moving, despite appearances, from centralization to decentralization, but that won't be handed to the people on a plate. I will say that repeatedly. However, this Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction is specifically in this month of July. Okay, so we're dealing with short-term and also longer-term transits. This Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction is also at the base, the IC of the chart for China. I'll put all of these countries' chart details below, so any astrologers can go and look at the chart specifically. So again, that suggests some seismic or eruptive activity or it could be other shocks and surprises for leadership and government in China. Just to mention another couple of countries, this isn't so much about the Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction. If we look at the chart for Japan, for instance, over the next couple of years, that is at the transiting Neptune is squaring the ascendant-descendant for Japan. That's like a dissolution of identity. It's, I say, that's over the next couple of years. And also, transiting Neptune is conjunct over the next couple of years, the base, the IC of the US. That could be linked to flooding issues. I think many countries are going to experience that, but also because it's opposing the midheaven by definition, dissolution of the government in some way, the political structure. I believe it's just wider than any particular leader. As I've spoken about many times, I believe it's the dissolution of the political structure. Transiting Neptune, again, this is longer term, is also squaring the midheaven and the IC of the EU. Just check that. Yep, it's squaring the midheaven IC of the EU, and it's actually right on the ascendant-descendant axis, the whole identity of the euro, of the EU's currency, the euro. So that suggests, with any potential breakup over the next couple of years of the EU, the currency will be dissolving. Again, that's not short term, that's longer term. I hope I've been clear here with all of this astrological information. So, but in short, what I'm seeing is this big shift from centralization to decentralization. That will not happen quickly, won't happen in a day, a month, a year. It won't happen in terms of giving the power to the people on a plate. However, that is where the astrological zeitgeist is moving to. Shorter term, in the next few months, there will be increased attempts at centralization. And you will see that. And I want you to know that, because the astrology is highlighting that in terms of, oh my goodness, are we now going backwards again? That is not the case. We need to stand in our light and stand in our power and stand in our sovereignty, because the astrological energy, the cosmological energy, the energy of the physics of our reality is moving towards decentralization and the power back to the people. And I've talked about that in so many ways, in so many videos. So, okay, other things to note. At this full moon, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment, and at this Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction, we also have transiting Jupiter conjunct the Uranus in the US chart for 4th of July, 1776, 5 in the afternoon, Philadelphia, signing of the Declaration of Independence. Uranus in that chart could be particularly linked to shocks and surprises of information coming out, because Uranus rules the third house of the media and information. It could be indicating that the seismic activity will happen to a large extent in America. That's a possibility. I can never say where exactly, because Uranus, the planet of earthquakes, is also the planet of the unexpected and the unpredictable. So whatever you think it's going to be, it won't be that. Uranus will always rug pull. On the 17th of July, we have the Sun square to Eris, dwarf planet Eris. Eris, warrior sister of Mars. In myth, she was the one who wasn't the only goddess who wasn't invited to the wedding on Mount Olympus with all the gods and goddesses there. So because she's pretty feisty. She turned up anyway and created mayhem by throwing a golden apple into the group of goddesses and saying, "For the fairest." And they all squabbled and fought, and that was said to lead to the Trojan War. So she stands for truth, she stands for justice, she stands for equality, and nobody being shoved to the periphery, not being heard, every voice in society being heard. I love Eris as a principle. So not only is she being squared by the sun on the 17th, so she's very rebellious, revolutionary energy, which is, being reinforced by this Mars-Uranus-Algol energy, but also on the 20th and 21st. And Eris has a very long orbit, 556 years. So, this is important. She comes to her stationary retrograde position right on this full moon in Capricorn, 20th, 21st. So her symbolism is emphasized. Whenever a planet is changing direction, becoming stationary, the symbolism is magnified. So everything I've just talked about is going to be magnified in society right now. And that's important because of her very slow 556-year orbit. On the 20th of July, we have Mars moving into Gemini up until the 4th of September. Wherever Mars moves to, and see which house area it's moving to in your chart at the beginning of Gemini. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website, pamgregory.com. You can go to the link below and get a 2-part video series that will take you from zero to explain how you find these points in your own chart that I refer to in these updates. It's not a personalized birth reading. These are teaching videos to help you begin your astrological journey of finding these points in your chart and finding the meaning for you in your own life. So see which house area, which area of life this is falling in. So what Mars does, wherever it falls, either by house area or by sign, it energizes that area. So it's going to energize Gemini. This is fabulous for energizing the mind, energizing any creative projects, particularly writing projects. Because Mars is the god of war in myth, and Gemini is linked to social media, as is Aquarius, this can create more spats on social media, more tit for tat, more polarity. I'm right, you're wrong. And I'm seeing an awful lot of this on social media, so I'm sure you all are. And it was interesting, a few days ago, I posted something that wasn't actually my own writing. It was something from somebody else. And it started off a whole spat of, this isn't true, I'm right, this is wrong. And, a whole series of people joined in. And it's very interesting to observe. And I never sort of join in on those because, if we think about it, and this seems like tiny stuff, doesn't it, on social media, saying, this is wrong and I'm right. That energy of I'm right and you're wrong is polarity energy, judgment energy, which leads into politics of I'm in the right party, you're in the wrong party, blue, red, Democrat, Republican, whatever, racism, nationalism, ultimately to wars. It's the energy of judgment, separation, division, and polarity. So even though it starts from tiny, tiny things like spats on social media, ultimately it's coming from ego and judgment. So just stay on your eagle's perch. Does it really matter if you think you're right and, that particular, at the end of the day, stay in divine neutrality, stay on your eagle's perch, because that observer position is very good training for us, even in little ways on social media, to stay out of polarity. We are only going to get to unity consciousness if we stay out of polarity. We're never going to get to it if we're in polarity, judgment, division, separation. I'm right, you're wrong. So just let that kind of roll around your head for a while. And you may be thinking, that you don't agree with that either, but that's up to you. Okay, let us now look at the chart for this full moon in Capricorn. This is much more powerful than the full moon in Capricorn that we had at 1 degree in June. It's unusual to have two full moons in a row in the same sign, so this is known as a blue moon. But this is much more powerful for reasons that I will go on to explain. And that's why I'm doing this update early, as well as reinforcing all I've just talked about with the Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction. Okay, so this is happening at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So let me share the chart. So this is happening at 29 degrees 08 of Capricorn. That's where the moon is. Sun and moon always opposite each other at a full moon. It's happening at 3:17 a.m. Pacific time and British summer time on the clock, 11:17 a.m. Now, several reasons this is much more powerful than the June full moon in Capricorn. This is happening at what is known as the critical degree, the crisis degree, the anaretic degree. The last degree of any sign is known as those things. So it brings a sense of urgency or crisis around the symbolism of that sign. So what is Capricorn about? It's about government, corporations, institutions, big banking, big business, where we have inequality, where we have elitism, where we have power over the people. And that has been particularly strong, as we know, over the last few years. And so also because Pluto here is conjunct the moon and opposing the sun, it's particularly about power issues. Power issues. So see where this is falling in your chart, which house here. It's bringing up power issues in the world, and it's also bringing up power issues potentially in your own personal life. Now, on a personal level, Capricorn is about our mastery, our discipline, our mastery. It's also about our inner authority. For certainly this lifetime and many, many lifetimes, I think in general, humanity has deferred to external sources of power, external sources of authority. We are being called as humanity now to internalize that authority, internalize our sovereignty. And this is really emphasized by the ruler of Capricorn, Saturn, being in Pisces. This is our spiritual authority. So I've talked a lot in my videos about living from the inside out, and that sense of stepping into our power, doing everything from our internal radio dial, waking up in the morning and dominating our day with a particular frequency of love or joy or peace or compassion or whatever it is, living from the inside out. So this full moon in Capricorn is very much emphasizing all of those themes, developing our inner authority. But nevertheless, big issues of power will be seen very strongly in the world. Intense feelings, wherever we have aspects between the moon and Pluto. The moon in global astrology represents the people. Intense emotions, intense feelings. Well, what would they be about? The intense feelings will be about governmental power, power over us. But because Pluto is also in Aquarius, this is really emphasizing the end of the old world, the beginning of the new. Aquarius is about the future. It's about humanitarianism. It's about egalitarianism. It's about Pluto power shifting the power to the people. So old world to the new. So the crucible of that shift of power. The crucible, which way are we going to play the music? Just ask yourself that question. Aquarius is also linked to civil rights, human rights, issues of freedom. Capricorn is linked to practical security, financial security. Where the sun is, Cancer is linked to emotional security. So all of these issues will be coming up at this time. We still have, super powerful. The other reason this is so strong is this 29th degree of Capricorn is super activated by Pluto crisscrossing this degree repeatedly as it has left Capricorn. That was in March 2023, then re-entered Capricorn 29 degrees in June, re-entered, crossed that 29 degrees of Capricorn in January this year, will cross back again on 2nd of September, hover around 29 degrees of Capricorn until the 19th of November, then move fully into Aquarius for the next 20 years till 2044. So this crisscrossing of the 29 degrees of Capricorn, very last degree of the old order, in this entire orbit of Pluto, which has a 248-year orbit, it will not be back in Capricorn after the 19th of November for another roughly 230, 240 years. Boy, is this emphasizing the end of the old world. So when a planet repeatedly crosses a degree, that degree becomes really activated and really hot as a major issue. This could not be clearer. So I really would call on you with any, from this point on, we are going to have a lot of smashing out of the old kitchen cupboards. We are going to have a lot of really big, scary things. Please ask yourself if they are even true. And please ask yourself if you are going to keep on with your focus and your attention to re-energize, to give life force to the old world that is crumbling. Because when we do that, when we're caught up in some kind of, fear or panic or anger, we are giving away our power to what we absolutely don't want more of, and then blaming it for giving us a hard time. The collective reality has been created by our collective consciousness. We are doing this all the time. So let's change the music. This is the last full moon in Capricorn while Pluto is ending this last cycle in Capricorn. Another reason this is super important. This could not be more important for us to make a step change in our focus, in our attention, in where we put our energy. It's a superhero power, remember? Remember what author Paul Levy says? To shift our sense of sovereignty from the outer reference to the inner. Hope I'm making sense here, because I'm kind of covering a lot of ground in a short time. Okay, also important at this full moon, because the sun is exactly trying to Neptune and the moon is sextile it, that we create this new world in a spiritual context. Saturn in Pisces said we've got to make it real, we've got to make it practical, but it also has to be spiritual. A spiritual, this crucible of change is happening in a spiritual copper bowl, if you like. The crucible is spiritual, but we are absolutely, over the coming months and the next couple of years, up until February 2026, I would say, in the absolute heat, the absolute alchemy of the biggest evolutionary shift for humanity ever. Could not be more important. And I think we have a sense of spiritual responsibility with that too. Okay, other important things here. We have Neptune in an out of sign sextile to, Pluto in an out of sign sextile to Neptune. Neptune also in an out of sign sextile to Uranus. And so, no, actually, that's in sign. Yeah, but it's sort of 3 degrees off. So this is potentially beautiful, actually. This is setting up this trine between Pluto and Uranus, which will be exact 5 times between 2026 and 2028. This is incredibly creative, but it's also incredibly spiritual. This whole combination of Uranus, Neptune, Pluto is about our multidimensionality appearing. Remember that we are reactivating our 24th chromosome after 200,000 years. Pretty amazing. That we are starting to experience not only other dimensions, but dimensions of reality we never believed existed. You know, it's extra, it's galactic, it's mystical. And this sextile is really starting to bring that in. So I know many people are having much greater psychic sensitivity. That's going to keep on coming and keep on coming very quickly. Okay, so we are going to have strong willpower in creating as well, whatever we want, because Mars is trine to Pluto. Very good for willpower, laser beam focus on what we want to create. We also here have a T-square at this full moon, Sun, Moon, Chiron, and Eris. Hope you can see that. There's a lot to take in here. I know it's a super busy chart. That's why I'm trying to go through it quite slowly, but I hope you're with me. Okay, so this T-square at this full moon, Eris is stationary, as I say, so very powerful about truth, justice, and equality. Chiron coming in here, and by the way, Chiron also becomes stationary retrograde on the 26th of January, so it's coming to its stationary point. I think a lot of the rebellion, revolution that we're going to start to see from the midpoint, in fact, even from the 6th of July moving through, is due to any remaining sense of woundedness, injustice, and victimhood. Chiron, particularly in Aries, is related to woundedness, to the I amness. Woundedness to the I amness, to any sense of remaining victimhood, injustice, not being heard, my voice not being heard in society. And this full moon is really going to shine a bright light on anything that's been hidden with government, and that's going to rumble for the next few months. Secrets coming to light, I think, in a very sudden, shocking way. And, it's the beginning of a whole cascade of a very different few months, certainly through to the end of the year and into 2025. So we are going to be able to be very original in our thinking, because we have an exact square between Mercury and Uranus. This is where our thinking is original. It's out of the box, it's lateral, it's to do with downloads. And again, Mercury in Leo is linked back to our sovereignty. So much here about standing in our light, standing in our love, standing in our power. I'm not talking about going out waving placards, being angry and violent. I'm talking about creating something completely new, birthed of love. That's what I'm talking about here. A completely new paradigm, not continuing to operate within this same paradigm of polarity, separation, tit for tat. That's what I'm talking about. Going beyond, We've got a blank canvas. We've never done it before. There's no rehearsal. So we are creating literally 24/7 from our energy and our frequency. That's why I think we have to be particularly conscious of how we are using our energy and frequency on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Another whole level to talk about here. Just to say quickly, Nessus, I've talked about Nessus, and it has an incredibly rich and relevant mythology. Go back to my updates in June because it's quite lengthy to explain, but essentially Nessus, which is exactly conjunct Saturn here, which is the ruler of full moon in Capricorn because it rules Capricorn, is the buck stops here. The buck stops here to do with issues around blood, poisons, gaslighting, all that kind of thing. For the full myth, go back to my June updates, and I'll put those below as well. I've got a lot of charts to put below here. Okay, I want to move to another octave here because we have some dwarf planets which are very important at this full moon. Now, dwarf planets move around, they've got an orbit of around 300 years. So I've already talked at length about the square between Pluto and Haumea, and then Haumea's quincunxus Sedna. I won't go through that again. That's going to last for the next 2 to 3 years because it's all about not just human transformation, but human metamorphosis. But at this full moon in Capricorn, and these aspects I'm talking about will also last the next couple of years. But they're highlighted particularly here because dwarf planet Salacia is at all the planets I'm about to talk about have about a 300-year orbit. They are at a higher octave of consciousness, as I say. Alan Clay, who runs the Dwarf Planet University, very much says that, and I very much agree with him. Salacia is at 11 degrees of Aries. So Salacia is conjunct the North Node. That's why I want to talk about this at this time. The North Node is our collective soul's path of growth, our collective compass needle, if you like, at this time. Salacia is mermaid energy. She's the wife of Neptune in myth, so she's linked to the shimmering moonlight and sunlight on the seas. So she's linked to photonic light, I believe. The Earth at the moment is moving through the photon belt. Only happens every 12,000 years, give or take 500. That's why Salacia is so important right now as well. But she's also linked to the seas and the oceans. And this, I believe, is really instructing us, conjunct the North Node, to develop a greater understanding. Veda Austin's work is exquisite with this. A deeper understanding of the fact that water is the medium that carries the light. Water is the medium that carries the light. And it is the light that carries the information for us, that we ingest with the water, that we hold within ourselves, that we embellish with our own frequency, that we expel, that we urinate out, and then becomes part of the collective. And water is the great, Veda has said this beautifully too, water is the great connector. It connects every living being, every tree, animal, slug, snail, moss, every nationality. It's absolutely universal. And just think of the unifying principle of water and light with this. And water doesn't lose that knowledge. Water doesn't lose that memory. I think we've got so much to discover with this. And I get very excited thinking about this. So there's something about the water and the light that we have to discover more deeply, I believe. And also we know that our intracellular network in our bodies operates with biophotons. That's how it operates. The information moves from cell to cell in our bodies, carried by the biophotons, carried by the light. And I can see this in people, and many, many people can, that you have this kind of shiny, like a little halo, little, bright aura around people. And that's their biophotons shining, as it were. And the more they can hold high frequency of love and joy, the brighter and the bigger that aura is. And I used to see them a few years ago, and I'm starting to see them more and more easily now with people. It's like, if you're English, the ready Brett glow, that shiny aura around people. And it's a reflection of, are we operating at a high frequency? But it's the biophotons that are carrying the information that's being reflected in that aura. Okay, and it's the light that carries the information. Okay, so we have water and light operating here. Salacia, dwarf planet, is square to another dwarf planet down here called Quawa. This is the symbol for Quawa at 8 degrees of Capricorn. Quawa was the creator god of the Tongva people who lived around the Los Angeles basin originally. And the myth of Quawa is that we move from chaos in community to sing and dance. And therefore, by singing and dancing, we create a higher frequency to create a more magnificent reality, to create a better world. We don't manifest from the chaos, we manifest from joy. But the singing and dancing brings in higher frequency. As soon as we sing and dance, we have sound, we have coherent music. That brings in another level of frequency. Think of cymatics. If you don't know about cymatics, go and do an internet search, cymatics. And it's essentially about, you sprinkle sand on a surface, and then you play tones or notes or music, and it creates beautiful patterns. So Quawa, the creator god, knew that life force operates most optimally through joy, through singing and dancing, because the frequency is raised then. So this is in a very tight geometry with the water and the light. And there's so much we've got to discover here. And I've still got L plates on with all of this. But this is teaching us about how we create our reality. We create it with water, light, song, dance, higher frequency. And then the other part of this T-square is a dwarf planet called Makemake at 8 degrees of Libra. So this is a pretty tight T-square. This, as I say, will run for the next couple of years, but I'm talking about it now because Salacia is conjunct this North Node. So it's relevant now. Makemake is the creator god of Easter Island, linked to the Rapa Nui people. Easter Island had a thriving ecosystem as a tiny, tiny island. That became pillaged and ravaged by the European sailors who landed. They brought in disease, they brought in rats to the island, they cut down the trees, they just really destroyed the ecosystem of Easter Island. And at one point, I think it was in the 1800s, and this is historically recorded, that there were only 111 residents left on Easter Island. I mean, just incredible, 111. But nevertheless, Makemake, the creator god, was able to regenerate from almost nothing a healthy ecosystem yet again. And it was in part due to a naturally occurring chemical in the soil called rapamycin, which is being investigated by scientists for longevity, anti-aging, etc. But it came back to become a thriving ecosystem again. So Makemake is a powerful regenerative symbol for New Earth. So is Haumea. I've talked about Haumea a lot. Haumea, as I say, in square to Pluto, and in tight quincunx to Sedna. So Haumea is the dwarf planet linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility. She's linked to a very creative, regenerative principle of birthing babies from all over her body, of being able to summon wild food from the land and the sea, even when laid waste. She had a magic stick, the Macaline. So this is why I get so excited that the astrology is operating at two different levels. The astrology is operating at the level of the collapse of the old that is incredibly clear to see, particularly at this full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Pluto hovering around that until the end of the year. Super clear to see. And yet, the incredible promise of these dwarf planets with creativity, joy, light, love, and discovering how we can, in a quantum understanding, regenerate our reality very rapidly, magically almost, from what is laid waste. We can weave the tapestry from the tatters of what is left. And that's happening right now. We don't have to wait till the whole order has gone down. This is already happening with people all over the world. Movements, communities, food growing. It is thrilling. It is a freedom movement. Okay, so I hope I've made that clear because I was covering an awful lot there. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. So I know I share these things a lot, but I feel them so deeply and so passionately because we are really right in this crucible of change right now. It isn't next month, next year, next decade. We are right in it right now. We're in the heat of the alchemy. And this second half of 2024 will absolutely, at the 3D level, become more chaotic and turbulent, more breakdowns. I have no doubt about that, looking at the astrology, but we don't have to live at that level. We can stay on our eagle's perch. We can observe. The more you can stay out of polarity, the more you can stay in divine neutrality and say, yeah, I'm aware, but I'm not emotionally engaging. I'm aware, but I'm not jumping in to say, I'm right, you're wrong, or this is my party, or whatever. You know, please take what resonates with what I'm saying and just leave the rest. But the more we can do that, I personally believe the more bubble wrapped we are from the worst or the most extreme turbulence that's going to play out, because we're kind of one step back. And if we are able to give our focus, attention, energy, our light, really, our power to what we are creating on that blank canvas, which is a new earth of love, then life will be a little smoother. You know, just like the analogy I've often used of where taking off on a windy day in a plane and it's very turbulent at the lower levels. When we get above the cloud level, we have a smoother ride. And if we substitute altitude for frequency, that analogy holds pretty well for the more we can stay in those higher frequencies of love and joy and peace and compassion and gratitude, the smoother the ride will be. And I absolutely believe that in my bones. We'll be aware of where society isn't working well, but we will be in a different frequency, a different space, just like one person can see the ghosts in the haunted house and the other person can't. We're not in a different space, we're in a different frequency, but we will start, as we create from this blank canvas, to magnetize the right people, the right circumstances, the right situations to us, to start to feel, gosh, this is the embryo, the early beginnings of a very different society and a very different life. And that's happening, as I say, all over the world. So don't give your energy away to anything you don't want. Starve out the scary, love in the good. And really try not to give your any fear or any panic or anger to anything that you don't want to see more of. Because again, it's a principle, it's a kind of rule of physics that we can only experience that which we are the frequency of. So if you're in fear, you'll get more fearful experiences in your reality. If you're in love, you'll get more of those. And what I've started to do on my morning walks, I have various rolling mantras, as you know, and I've started to say a very simple one of I'm breathing in love, I'm breathing out love. I'm breathing in love, I'm breathing out love. And that is so soothing. It's so simple and it's so incredibly soothing. Really just warmth. It's just so calming to anything which may be a bit zuzzy or jazzed up. We're going to have a lot of jazzed up energy, particularly around July. Actually, and ongoing in different forms, but that midpoint in July is very jazzy. It's very anxious, mentally, it's like interference on a television set. So we are able, and we are already creating something amazing in this natural organic timeline. And so despite whatever collapse is happening out there in the 3D world, the energy of love is more palpable. I certainly feel it, and I know people around me do. The energy of love is more palpable by the day, by the day. And I feel it particularly in those very simple 15-minute Sunday meditations. They happen at 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening. I'll leave a link for a video below, but no Zoom links, no recordings, no technology. I'm not running it. We're all running it. Just energetically connect. And as I say, I'll leave more detail below, but just set a clear intention. It's for your highest good, the highest good of all, and the highest good of the earth. And remember the mantra, we're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. We're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. That's another great one to have rolling around your head as you're in the shower, cleaning your teeth, preparing food. These mantras, these default mantras, help to keep us in a good place. And I walk my talk. No, I'm doing this too with you. Covered a lot of ground there. I'm sorry that was so long. But this is a very important full moon in Capricorn for all the reasons I've described. And I think we are going to see a lot of things coming to light at this time. And that's going to start a whole cascade of things in the coming months. Stand in your light, stand in your love, stand in your power. God bless. Have a wonderful full moon in Capricorn, and I'll be back very soon. Bye for now.